Chinatown. That's the Liberty Bell right there.
Architecture, which Georgian-style architecture is defined by brick construction, was our proprietor. He owned the whole state, but he set up the state with government with 3 branches. When you go in that white door on the first floor, there's only 2 rooms. On this side was for our legislature, the Pennsylvania General Assembly, and on the other side was for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now, you guys probably know this building as Independence Hall, because this building is taken over by the Second Continental Congress in 1775. Our Second Continental Congress takes over that General Assembly, the legislative room, just months after Lexington and Concord. Lexington and Concord is the first battle of the Revolutionary War, but it's not declared a war at that time. At that time, it is the British reminding the Americans to pay their taxes. So when the Second Continental Congress meets, like the rest of Philadelphia, they're split between a third wanting independence, a third wanting to remain loyal to Britain, and a third undecided. Those that want independence have to persuade the other 2/3. We will have no chance against the greatest military power of its time, England, if we don't unite. So the ideas being discussed in that room and out among the American people are the ideas of no taxation without representation, the join or die snake drawn by Benjamin Franklin, and Common Sense by Thomas Paine is the most popular pamphlet of its time. After over a year of these discussions, on July 2nd, 1776, they call for the vote for independence. It passes unanimously. That is when we've declared ourselves these free and independent states. We then have a committee of 5 who had been working for a month on a document of what this independence is about. That Declaration of Independence is edited down and approved in that room on July 4th. It is first read aloud to the American people on July 8th, and it isn't signed until August. So our Independence Day is the date we approved the Declaration of Independence, the date we call for the document. Now Congress continues their congressional business in Independence Hall, but the British take siege of Philadelphia for part of the Revolutionary War. They use this building as a hospital, and Congress moves through several towns in the tri-state area. 1783, we win the war with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. We are then, as a country, operating on the Articles of Confederation. This was set up to give the 13 colonies equal powers. It had a federal government with almost 0 powers. We, for example, had 13 different currencies with no unified exchange rates. The federal government couldn't tax. There were a lot of flaws with the system. We're going to talk about it, and then we will move over to get a better view of it. This building across the way is from 1819. That was built as our second National Bank of the United States. The style of architecture is called Greek Revival, because after we wrote the U.S. Constitution, we were harkening back to the birthplace of democracy. Philadelphia even has a nickname, Athens of America. Well, the building is all part of the in it. This style of architecture is very popular in Washington, D.C., too, in setting up our country's federal buildings. Now, an voting system is ended by Andrew Jackson as president.
National Bank.
He felt the bureaucracy was getting too big and reverts banking back to a states' right issue. This was then the U.S. Custom House for about 100 years until they built that tall building rising up there, which is an Art Deco style building. And this building today, the Second National Bank, is owned by the National Park. Fortunately not open to the public, but hopefully 2026, for America's big birthday, it'll be reopened. They just restored it up 2 years ago. The marble looks incredible. Someone recognize this. No, I appreciate the Washington and also everyone else. A bronze sculpture of the painting by John Trumbull, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Trumbull's intention was to capture all 56 men in one painting. He only squeezes in 42, and most of us only see this painting in our history books. So, in converting it into a bronze sculpture, you get to actually feel that all 42 of those men are touched down instead of just seeing floating heads.
December 25th.
Track lighting installation.
George was
This
pissed.
is one of the best examples of it.
They overtaxed him.
There's another one that's like the
he
sculpture
was
that
ready
goes
for
inside
war,
the building
baby.
and then rises up like above it. And the bronze sculpture,
Yeah,
I always associate this painting with just the boat. But by putting in the bronze sculpture, you really see all of the other little boats because he's leading a whole army. You see how hard it is to get the horses in there. So what happens is the Americans are on one side of the river, and on the other side, the British are Hessian mercenaries or hired German soldiers. They believed with regular old-fashioned rules of war, on Christmas they would take a day off for the holiday, so the Germans had beer. They celebrated, they enjoyed themselves. And Washington led his army across the river in the night and snuck up on them quietly. This decisive victory inspired other European countries to help support the American cause. We showed that we had a fighting chance against the British. So this is incredibly important in changing the tide.
George is ready
and
for
part of
war.
the reason that's so crazy is George Washington had about 5,000 men. Only 3,000 made it over in time for the battle, given that they had a limited number of ships going back and forth. So if we had lost, we could be a different country right now. This was a major turning point. Now, just this past week, because this battle happened in what we now call Washington's Crossing, New Jersey, they do a reenactment of this on Christmas Day. George Washington gives a speech and one of the boats goes across. So it's a nice random Christmas tradition.
There did not seem to be a single man.
December 16, 1773, the Sons of Liberty, they disguised themselves as American Indians. They boarded the Boston Harbor. They dumped over $1 million of tea into the river.
This is when the war started. I know that was.
I see no wisdom in a Declaration of Independence, nor any purpose to be answered by it.
They plead for more time, hoping that despite the open warfare that's already broken out, the colony will
To generate revenue as a public meeting space. So when you went in that first floor, there was a corridor going down, and those rooms were rented out. In 1774, our first Continental Congress met here. The first
No. So this right here is Benjamin Franklin's property. From that big tree, this is what's called a shadow house. That's the second Shadow House. This is where he would garden, right here. That's his museum. And these arches right here would be considered a guest home. This is also part of his home right here. Yeah. That's the post office.
We're on the other side of the bell.
If you're like
Are we gonna see the Delaware River or no? Put it back up. Let's see. Hope you enjoyed your tour through Philly.